Hey, welcome back to this mini lecture. It's on Ecker and al's article, The Psychological Drivers of Misinformation Belief and Its Resistance to Correction. Part one is going to be about the origins of this work. Ecker and al define misinformation as any information that turns out to be false, which is a pretty broad definition. It can contrast with disinformation, which is more intentional. They talk about some historical examples of information, so it's been around for a long time. Quote, the psychology and history of misinformation cannot be fully grasped without taking into account contemporary technology. Misinformation helped bring Roman emperors to power. He used messages on coins as a form of mass communication, and Nazi propaganda heavily relied on the printed press, radio, and cinema. My question to you is, how does tech impact information? You may want to pause. I would say that it helps to amplify this information in ways that we do not always understand until it's much too late. Education definitely has a role in misinformation. Quote, the prevalence of misinformation cannot be attributed only to technology. Conventional efforts to combat misinformation have also not been as successful as hoped. These include educational efforts that focus on merely conveying factual information, knowledge, and corrective efforts that merely retract misinformation. How does education improve and worsen information? Ideally, they can do these kind of efforts where they help to correct misinformational issues, but we'll talk about that later on. But also, they can help to give kids and train kids to be more critical of the information they consume. Ecker and I'll talk about this information deficit model, and there's both a positive and negative case for it. For decades, science communication has relied on an information deficit model when responding to misinformation, focusing on people's misunderstanding of or lack of access to facts. Thus, a thorough and accessible explanation of facts should overcome the impact of misinformation. So that's the positive case for it. That should help it. But in contrast, in terms of the negative case, however, the information deficit model ignores the cognitive, social, and affective drivers of attitude formation and truth judgments. For example, some individuals deny the existence of climate change or reject vaccinations despite being aware of a scientific consensus to the contrary. So this information deficit model does not account for cognitive, social, and affective drivers. So as a result, it's a bit the deficit model is in its own deficit. Ecker and I'll talk about some multiple reasons why people share misinformation. One big driver, obviously, these days, social media. On social media, sharing is often dictated by what captures attention. Because social media algorithms promote content that is likely to be shared, the interplay of psychological tendencies and technological optimization can thus easily lead to viral spread of misinformation. So attention capturing information is often misinformation, and social media amplifies that. Another reason why is that lazy or intuitive thinking can also lead people to share content that they might recognize as false if they thought about it more. So that's just the idea of passing on something that intuitively seems correct, but may, upon further examination, may not hold up to muster. 3, attempting to share information that would be interesting or consequential or true. So there's this tendency to share this information that people find interesting or consequential, but they don't really, maybe they haven't examined it as in depth. 4, people might share positive but questionable claims that can make others feel better. So you may share something with a loved one, a friend, that could make them feel better, but in fact may be incorrect. Misinformation may signal group membership, so you send something to your group that would help to show that you're a part of that group. 6, self-promotion. You may share something that may make you look good into your peer group. And 7, it could actually fuel moral outrage in others, so you may try to troll someone by sharing misinformation. That was Ecker and al's The Psychological Drivers of Misinformation Belief and Its Resistance to Correction, Part 1, Origins. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.